Welcome to the Real Hernando podcast. This podcast is created to highlight our amazing local community and small businesses here in Hernando, Mississippi. I'm your host, Derek, and this episode is brought to you by Shelby Row Productions. Today, I'm talking with Josh Belenchia, owner of Buon Cibo. Buon Cibo features fresh gourmet sandwiches, pizzas, burgers, and salads. Family owned and operated right here in Hernando, Mississippi. Their hours are Tuesday through Thursday and Saturday, 11 to 8, and Fridays from 11 to 9. And you can find the store at 2631 Mackingvale Road, Suite 129. Josh, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Glad to be here. I've been a fan of your restaurant or your store for some time now, and I'm glad we can finally connect for this.
Yeah, of course.
So without question, you guys are an integral part of this community, being a local business and all. So you're a perfect model fit for what this podcast is all about, and that is to not only promote your business, but share your story behind this.
Right.
And how you led up to where you are right now. So basically timeline through your life, So where are you originally from?
I am from Cleveland, Mississippi.
Okay.
Down in the Delta. Lived there for 18 years. Decided to not go to Ole Miss or Mississippi State, and went to Southern Miss.
Okay.
With no particular plan. So I had 2 years there. That's where I met my wife, Katie. And then I decided I want to go to culinary school. She decided she was going to go to nursing school, so we split, and I went to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York, and I was there for about 2 years. And Katie and I stayed together throughout that whole time, just dated long distance. And I graduated culinary school and decided to move back to Hernando, which is where Katie's originally from. And I was going to work in Memphis. I didn't want to move to Memphis. Just wanted to live, a little bit remote. And worked at a place called Wally Joe for an extremely good chef, Wally Joe. And did that for quite a few months. And then kind of in and out, left there. Eventually went back to that same location. It was called Interim, and I was there for about 4 years. So at Interim, I started as just a cook, a grill cook, worked my way up sous chef, became executive chef. I was executive chef for about a year, and then we were driving past, like I said, we lived in Hernando. We were going out to Cedar Hill Farm for Christmas trees, and this place had been a restaurant. And randomly, I was like, let's just go take a look and see what's in there. Mm-hmm. And we look in the window, and everything, the way you look, it's got all the plates and the bowls and all that stuff set up. It was all set up just like that.
Yeah, so to paint the picture for the listeners, as you walk in, you get the register right in front. You can see straight into the kitchen. To the right, you have this amazing menu board. And then, you go to the left, you have your booths, and then you have all the soda machines and everything, and that leads right into the dining room. So
everything was there. We just looking in the window, and I was like, goodness gracious. And so it had been 2 years since this place had closed, because I think it got hit by the recession, 2008, and all that good stuff. So we called up the guy and got in. We looked around, and we're like, that's something we might want to do. And it just all clicked into place. Yeah. Katie and I were driving down the road over here, and I was like, I just want to cook good food. And I was like, what's good food in Italian? And she said, looked it up. Buon Cibo. I was like, that's our restaurant name right there.
Amazing. That was down the list, how you came up with the name, and I love that story.
It was there. But that was like everything that we did.
Yeah.
And we found the building. It just went like that.
So I'm interested. Let's backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
Was there any kind of culture shock going up to New York? What was that experience like?
It was really cool. Hyde Park in that area is a similar weather atmosphere to here. It's obviously colder in the winter, but I don't know. Culture-wise, you meet people from all walks of life. One of the girls that I knew was from Guam. There's a couple Canadians that were in my class, people from New York City, all over. So me being from the South, obviously I sounded different. But
and I'm sure everyone told you that, right?
well, of course, and they all sounded different. I mean, I told them. So
Yeah.
But it was a great time. Culinary school was an amazing experience. And Katie's father had he worked at Northwest, and so she was able to fly out once a month, roughly, and come see me and hang out. And
so she remained in the South, even though she went down.
She was in nursing school at in Hattiesburg.
Okay.
And so she was, like I said, she was doing that while I was doing this, but we were able to see each other, which worked out great. But yeah, culinary school was a fantastic experience. Learned a ton and met a lot of people that I still keep in contact to this day.
So was cooking or just culinary in general something you were always into growing up?
Not necessarily, no. I grew up, my mom cooked a lot. She was a homemaker, and my father was a pharmacist. So I come from, my grandfather had a sign shop, and he was a kind of a do-it-all. So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and I think that's kind of just ingrained to the point where you just get tired of working for other people, and you're like, I'm just going to go on my own.
I know that feeling.
And so that's just how it worked out. It was kind of like.
So you were at a crossroads, collegiately, like, what do I really want to study?
Yes, yeah. It got to the point in Southern Miss where I was just like, okay, I've got to find something to do, because I had no interest in picking a major and you can only do that for so long. You're like, all right. So we were having a dinner in Cleveland at a nice restaurant called Casey's. It's no longer there, but and I guess I saw all the chefs. And there was a few chefs there because they were having like a fundraiser dinner, or I think it was called a James Beard dinner at the time. And I just saw their camaraderie. I saw they were having a good time. It seemed like pretty fun. I was like, this could be something I want to do. So I went back to Hattiesburg, and I got a job in a restaurant. And I almost quit 2 weeks in because I was like, this is really weird. It's a different culture. Kitchen is a completely different world if you've never worked in a kitchen. And after that, I was like, no, this is something and I started excelling. I moved up and did this, and became kind of one of the leaders of that kitchen. And then I applied to go to school, and I think 6 or 8 months later, after I started my first restaurant job, I went off to culinary school.
So when did you go to school? What year
I left January of 2003, and I graduated September of 2005.
And then quickly thereafter, right back down to Hernando.
And so then we moved back, and then I went to Wally's,
right,
and then kind of in and out.
You kind of did the in and out, and then realized, what was that pivotal moment where, I know you already mentioned how you started the business, or the idea came to, and how you got your name and everything, but what was that pivotal moment where, like, you know what, I'm going to break out on my own and do this?
Well, it was always simmering. Even when I was at Interim, it was one of those things where, again, it's not like I don't like the people I work with. It's just like I see how it is, and I see what's going on, and I can do it. I know that I can do it. And so it'd been something that Katie and I had been talking about and just praying about it and making sure that it was the right time. And like I said, when we drove by, we looked in here, and it was just like there's a restaurant sitting here with everything in it, with all the equipment.
Yeah.
Like, that's easy.
Small little epiphany, right?
Right, and that's most restaurants, you have to pay an arm and a leg to get open, and you may never get that back. And this was one of those where it's a minimal money to open, and
it wasn't a complete rebuild.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I based my menu based on the equipment that they had, with the 2 pizza ovens, the toaster oven. They had a grill in the back, which I didn't start with burgers, but when we first opened, it was sandwiches, pizzas, salads. Mm-hmm. And I created the menu around that, so I didn't have to do a complete rebuild. Just try to do it as cheap as possible and get going and get running, and then start adding, like I did the burger nights. That was, for those that remember, we did Thursday night burger nights. And then Thursday nights became like this. It was just crazy. Yeah. Like, so many people would come out Thursday nights for burgers. Everybody would see each other. It was really fun. So then I started doing it Thursday night. Then I started doing it Tuesday and Thursday.
Slowly building your days.
Because I wasn't quite set up for a full-time burger station. I was just kind of getting it done. And so then I decided, all right, I'm gonna make the investment and get a new grill, a new station, and we're going to make this burgers all day, every day.
What was the experience like when, all right, you noticed the store just sitting there waiting for you, to getting the keys and walking in knowing that it's your place? What was that process like? Did it take a while, or did you realize, oh, this is a little trickier than I anticipated? How did that go for you?
It didn't take long. Like I said, we were going out to get a Christmas tree, so it was right around, I think, the beginning of December 2nd, something like that.
What year are we talking?
This is 2010 at the time.
Yeah, so you're fresh back from college.
Right.
You've been in Memphis here and there.
It'd been about 5 years since I had graduated.
Oh, okay, I got the numbers wrong.
2005,
okay.
Yep. And so I had been in the business. I've been doing, you want to have experience. You want to learn. And so, but by I think, middle of December, end of December, I was no longer an interim. And I was fully on the Buon Cibo project, like breaking it down, cleaning it up, painting, and we had a set date of March 15th to open, which is right in the middle of spring break. It was on a Tuesday. And we picked that day and we picked that time, and we didn't really tell anybody about it. Just like a lot of businesses tend to celebrate their opening too much, and everybody comes, because Hernando and DeSoto County is known for just knocking the doors off of new places.
Yeah,
they love it.
And this is a very common theme in all the stories I'm listening to and getting because of this podcast. Yeah. It seems like everyone I talked to was like, we didn't really have to promote. Word of mouth got around, and people were at the door.
So I just opened. And in the spring break week, because everybody's kind of either in or out, but they're not all, And we had a great week that week, but we weren't just run over. And that's what I wanted. I wanted everybody to kind of get used to it, all the workers to be comfortable, and I didn't want to, run out of food. I didn't want people to have a terrible experience, because
you get one chance for that first impression. Right?
You do, and it went really well, and super busy. I think we had a super busy 3 or 4 months, and then the summer kind of, it kind of leveled out and whatnot, and then you built from there. Yeah. And it went really well. I was really happy with the way it went.
So would you say even from day one, you realized this is going to sustain itself? Or was there still a little fear in you, like, okay, this is going good now?
Well, there's always that, because you have their standards. There's restaurants never make it. Or restaurants very, very rarely make it to 1 year. Restaurants very rarely make it to 5 years. So there's all these like things and stages that you have to get through to feel more comfortable and having a restaurant. I mean, I still remember going to a bank here in Hernando. I'm not going to say which one. And I was like, hey, I need some money to open a restaurant. And the woman gave me this like, shocked look, like, giving you money for a restaurant, like, and it wasn't even that much money, but it was like, she was just like, no, not gonna happen.
So it's got that reputation of high rate failure.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and they got every right for that. I mean, they're a bank, so it's one of those things where they've seen it, and but I believed in me, and my family believed in me, and we were able to make it work.
What was that first major obstacle early on? Is there a moment where you felt some serious adversity as a young business owner that kind of came out of left field, and just like, whoa? Well, I mean, which became a massive learning experience. I think everyone's had that. I
think the whole thing is a learning experience, because you can't teach somebody everything. Yes, I was in the restaurant business and I knew the goings on, but I didn't. There's all I always called it the unexpectables. Like, it was like, you got to pay your taxes every month. Oh, you got to pay your rent on time. You got to do this. Like, all these things where you're like, oh crap, I forgot about that. Or, I
mean, I would gather, you went to culinary school, but they're not Are they teaching you any business side of
You
it?
can do that. You can continue to go longer and get a bachelor's degree, and they kind of tend to the business side.
Okay.
But this was just life experience.
Yeah, so you didn't go that route.
No, I didn't.
So now the learning curve is
like
owning a business.
right. And so the obstacles there were just figuring out the ins and outs and making sure you're dotting your I's and you're crossing your T's and you're hiring, having a CPA and making sure that they're watching your back and taking care of you, or because you can mess up. You can mess up quick, and that's the thing, is that you don't, especially early on, you want to make sure you're good. And like I said, my father he had a pharmacy for 25 years, I think is as long as he had it. So he helped out with that. My mom helped out with that, and Katie, and she was helping out with. So everybody was watching everybody's back, and it's a family run affair.
But there's a bloodline of entrepreneurship,
right,
which innately makes you, it's okay to fight through these fears and adversities because this is what we do.
Right. Well, a funny thing. So when we first were about to open, I was like, all right, I'm going to do the food. Katie, you're going to do the pies. I'm going to do all this other stuff. You do the desserts. She's like, okay. And so she starts doing the pies. And she's never really rolled a pie crust before. And so she's trying to figure this out. And so my mom has made pies for forever. These are all her recipes. So all the chocolate chess, sour cream, blueberry, French coconut, all that stuff we grew up eating. And so my mom had to come in and be like, and show her how to, make sure the dough fills the right wetness and roll it and do it. And after that, so it's like one of those things where you're going to make pie, but you don't really know how to make pie.
But you're going to learn.
But we're going to learn on the fly. And now she's made, I can't imagine how many thousands of pies she's made in 11 years. So we just turned 11. So
awesome. Is she completely vested in here, or is she also a nurse on the side?
She used to be a nurse. Now she is, she helps out here. She makes the desserts, and then she's being a mom, and she's got all her other projects. She's got a ton of stuff she does on the side. So
that's great. How many kids y'all have?
We have 3.
Okay.
We have a 14-year-old girl, Harper, Joan is 11, and Wyatt is 7.
It's a nice spread of ages.
Yeah.
That's great. They all go to school here?
They all go to school in Hernando. Yep. They're all spread out all over town, as I'm sure everybody listening will know. That's how that works.
While we're talking about youth, one of the things I noticed immediately when I first stepped into this place is the youth of your staff, at least on the front end. And they're buzzing around. You definitely fill your kitchen up. Again, the front side of it. You can't see the back, but full of youth. Seems like a lot of high school kids working their tails off for you. Is that something that you inspire to help the young kids work?
I really feel like that's part of God's plan for me and for Katie and for this place, is to give kids and teenagers a home where they can come, they can learn a lot, they can be around a lot of good people, get some life skills, and I try to make everybody better from when they start to when they finish, to where I would like people to go to another workplace and run circles around everybody that works there, because they have a better work ethic. They know, they've seen it. And that's really what I want for all my people. And I've had a few that stay. I've had, right now I've got a girl, Winter, that works for me, and she's been here 5 years. Susanna and Gail, they both, right now they're working, and they've been here 5 or 6 years off and on. And so we try to make it an environment where people can be comfortable. They can laugh, but they know that they're expected to work. They know they're expected to do the job. But also, my philosophy is you work a lot. Your life is work, mostly, right? So
a third of it,
shouldn't you have some sort of a good time while you're at work, right? Should you hate coming into work? No, I don't want anybody, I tell all my people, like, if you don't like working here, go somewhere else. But I need you to show up with a smile on your face, and I need you to show up with a good attitude. I'm not forcing you to be here, and that, I think that resonates with a lot of people. And So we can keep a staff for a long time, like a core group, and then we're constantly adding new girls, new guys all the time. So it's just try to keep a good work experience because we do mostly everybody that works here is a teenager, maybe 2 or 3 are in their 20s. So
I mean, I can say from the customer's perspective, that energy definitely translates.
it does.
You
it's
walk
super
in,
important.
and it's people. You can tell they're having fun, but they're working hard. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. You know, this is the age of cell phones and you know,
Bad service.
and video games and to see kids like working their butt off. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
You get to see it. And it just creates an energy. And I'm speaking from my experience of coming in here. I've felt that immediately.
Yeah.
So that's
Good.
outstanding, you
Yeah.
know. So let's start talking about the food a little more. You know, might sound silly, but I have 2 specific things here, and you can see them: cheese and chips. So I already, before we started recording, complimented your pizza, which we can talk about. But before I had the pizza here, you got sandwiches and which are all delicious, but then the chips that come with this stuff are, you know, I'm a chip guy. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you making these fresh? And this might sound ridiculous to some people, but I'm genuinely curious.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
when we, you know, my philosophy was when we first opened, and I know a lot of restaurants, they order, they open the box, they open the bag, and they put it in the fryer and they cook it, and that's fine. That's what you pay for what you get, and that's great. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make everything fresh.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we still do, and it's a lot to do, but it's also it's super important. So when we first started, you know, I think they sent me some samples of some pre-sliced potatoes for chips, and they just didn't taste right. So yes, I have a slicer. It hooks up to our mixer, and you put the potato in, and you push on it, slices the potato, and we do every other day probably 2 gallons of. Not 2 gallons, 2 5-gallon buckets of sliced potatoes, and we drop in the fryer and cook them.
So they're fresh.
So they're fresh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we have our sweet potato chips and our regular chips. But yes, they are cooked fresh every day.
Outstanding. My compliment to you with the pizza was just the level of cheese in there.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are very generous with that, but your food in general, your sandwiches are massive. You know, so not only are you getting quality here, you're getting volume. You're getting a meal. Is that something that you knew on the front end? Like, we're going to make this fresh and delicious, but we're also going to make it hearty. We're really going to deliver.
Yes. Well, I think, you know, I still remember doing the testing and the food testing and having family over and is this going to work? And is this sandwich big enough? Like, because you have to cater to your audience. You know, we were coming into Hernando, and we were bringing stuff like arugula and brie and pears on a sandwich, turkey and brie sandwich, and just more exotic ingredients. But we also wanted to bring in things that people that aren't going to touch that, like, we didn't have the club originally on the menu. That was Katie's idea. She's always always the one with the ideas.
That's my go-to.
And she was like, "We need a club," and I was like, "Okay, let's make a club." And it's a massive sandwich, but it, you know, people have big appetites and they want something that's big. And so yeah, when we tested it originally, we looked at all that. Is this enough? Is this going to make people happy? So yeah, it was definitely a big part of it.
And earlier on in this interview, I mentioned what was some of the first big obstacle you faced, you know, adversity, whatnot. Well, on the other side there's always those moments of like a good win. You get a good win once in a while. You're like, oh, wow, finally, you know, whether it's jumping up, if we're talking technicalities, jumping in revenue or whatever it may be. Do you have a story behind a moment since beginning this store of like a win that propelled you, or maybe things got easier because things started cruising along? Like, what was that first true moment of like, aha, okay, now we're cruising?
It's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of wins. You know, every day is a win. If you have a successful day, you know, 95% of the people coming in, 100%, we're satisfied, we're happy. Those are important wins, because every day is a battle. Like, and I tell my cooks this. I'm like, you are battling every day at your station. You're battling against the tickets, and the more prepared you are, the better you're going to do, and so on and so forth. So every day is a win. But like the first big major day I think that we had, I'm sure folks here would remember Andy Wise. Andy Wise had a show on Channel 5 News. He would do Restaurant of the Week and Restaurant Scorecard and all that stuff. So he chose us to be Restaurant of the Week. And I think we had opened in March. I think it was like May or June. It's been a couple months. And so when Andy Wise plugs you, apparently you just need to be ready for it. And so I think the show airs on Thursday, and then Friday comes. And I still remember, I want to say it was Friday, there was a line from here to the other door. We have 2 doors, from like 4:30 to like 8:30. And you know that this is coming, and you know to be prepared, and you know to have more people here. But there was still people were not quite up to speed with how to act in that situation.
Yeah.
And we just got killed and slaughtered. And it was amazing. It was great. I mean, we had did really good numbers, and everybody, you know, at the end of the night, everybody's patting each other. It was a really first, like, just slam busy.
And early on.
Early on, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, we'd had a few months. So everybody was pretty comfortable. And it kind of the level, but after that, it's just like, holy
it bumped you up, didn't it? Now, obviously that levels off.
It levels off,
but could you tell, oh, okay, now I'm consistently
a little bit busier. Yeah. Yes, we were after that. And then it's just grown every year. It's one of those things where we have used, I don't do a ton of advertising. We've always tried to go by word of mouth, because it's a slower grow, but it's a more important, like, if you tell you got to go try this place, Buon Cibo in Hernando, it's fantastic. Go, you know, that's much better than opening a magazine and being like, Buon Cibo, okay. Yeah. And
higher costs.
It just sticks better. So early on, I mean, yes, we've done advertising in magazines and radio and so on and so forth, but I try to pick and choose that. I think right now we're on the Hampton Inn TV. When you get in your room, we show up, and that's cool. And, you know, because they support us, they'll send their guests over here and so on and so forth. So it's all the businesses in Hernando try to help each other out. And that's huge. I mean, you should. I mean, that's how our community should be, you know.
That's my goal here, doing this right now.
Right.
You know, this is my way to provide my business to the local community, you know. And it's special to be able to hear all these stories, because everyone says that same thing. Yeah. Like, we're all here together, and we all help each other.
Right.
And it's so true.
I text people, and you know, Tina at Coffee Central, and Heather and Heather Reese, and you know, we're always talking and going over. And
Heather Reese is Mississippi Eats.
Mississippi, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we're always, how's your business? What are you doing? What's going on? What's the situation? So we're constantly talking and trying to help each other out. Yeah, and going to eat there, and going to get coffee, and going to do, you know, supporting.
Yeah. You know, throughout this conversation, we've talked about your culinary schooling and background and passion for that. Learning how to run a business, like just jumping in that fire, you know, and learning as you go. But a few times you've mentioned about how you've, you know, the messages you've sent to your team, your people, as you say. Well, that's a third level of being a team leader, and that's its own thing. You can be good at those other two, but being a team leader or a leader in general is its whole new thing.
It's difficult.
So let's talk about your leadership, because from what I've already heard you say, sounds great. You're trying to get these kids on the same page and building a community in here, like just a vibe in here that's going to benefit everybody. What was that learning curve like? Just now you're leading people and dealing with some that might not be as strong as others, or get those kids showing up late, all these different variables that come at you.
Early on, when we opened, I was in the back cooking. Katie's in the front, and she was training the girls and doing all that stuff. So the first week or two, all I was doing was making sure we didn't run out of anything. Well, I need caramelized onions. All right, caramelized onions. I need chicken. Cut chicken. I mean, I was just like, because nobody knew how to do anything. They were just doing their station. Nobody knew how to prep. My fault. But, so Katie had a lot to do with the training of the girls, or mostly all to do with the training of the girls. And we align with our philosophies, making sure that they have good attitudes and they smile and they take care of the customer and say hello when you come in and goodbye, thank you for coming, when they leave, and being polite. And but my leadership style is, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do. If I need to jump in the dumpster and go clean it, I'm going to jump in the dumpster and go clean it. But I'm not going to send you out there and I'm not going to do it. No, right. That's not what I do. A lot of times you'll come in, you'll see me doing the dishes on the dish pit. That's just got to be done. It's one of those things. I'm not too good to do dishes at my restaurant. So, I think the main thing is the kids coming in they're hired, if they have a good general attitude, a good demeanor, they can put a smile on their face. Even if they don't have work experience, I can train all that. That's not, but if they are teachable people, then it's easy. Yeah. They can learn quickly. And again, this is a place of, I don't want to sound, there's a bunch of weirdos that work here. And I'm a weirdo, and Katie's a weirdo.
People with character. Yeah. And all the weirdos come here and they see other weirdos and they're like, oh, there's people like us, like me. And I say that in the nicest way. And I know it sounds weird or whatever, but these people here are all completely different. Yeah. And you can bring them all together, and they have a camaraderie, like they do. Like they hang out outside of work, and some of them start dating, and some of them start doing this, and it's amazing. I really love. I love doing it, and I love the fact that they love working here, and it's a thing. It's great. It's finding that balance of setting the rules and boundaries, and the culture of what you're expecting. The values.
Right.
But you let them be themselves too.
Right.
Let them show their character and personality.
Yeah, and I mean, early on, I was a little more intense. I'm sure some of them will say that. But they knew that I expected them to do the things. Yeah. And one of my things is another thing that I do is I never tell anybody to do anything. I ask you nicely to do it with expectations that it will get done. Mm-hmm. I don't like to yell. I have very rarely. So when people know, if I holler, like,
game on,
he's really upset now. Because if you go around yelling and you're constantly doing that, they stop listening. Yeah. They don't hear it. You're just talking. So I reserve that for very rare times. Again, very rare times will I ever have to get upset, because they know what to expect. They know this is how it's supposed to be. This is how it's going to get done. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
What's your 5-year plan, your 10,000-foot view, however you want to say it? I'm not asking for you to give information that you're not ready to or announce or anything, but where do you see this going? Do you want to just maintain this, or do you see something bigger?
Right now, we talked about work-life balance earlier. I'm closed Sunday, Monday, so I have time off, which is important. And it's one of those things where, yes, there's so many people that want me to open another spot, and I would like to eventually, if the timing is right and the place was right. But every time I've tried, every time I've looked, and we've tried to do something, it's just not right. It's not the right time, or we'll get busier at the restaurant, and I'll have to reinvest my time back here. So there's always that in the future. I would like to do something else, possibly. Katie has plans. She would like to do some things. So it's one of those things where I did the restaurant. Well, she can do this over here. So it's one of those, we don't, the kids are active. Volleyball, we've got taekwondo, we've got, all the parents listening will know exactly, like the kids are constantly going. So right now, I think the most important thing for me to be is a father, and be at home and see them and be here, making sure it's running and back and forth. So for 5 years, we'll probably just keep it as it is, and unless something pops up. And I'm never, if somebody has an idea, somebody's got a space and they want me to do something, holler at me. You got some money? Holler at me.
I wonder if that lady at the bank's watching this right now. That
she doesn't even know. I don't know who she is. She probably doesn't know who I am, so it's fine.
But that goes back to that work-life balance. So I commend that. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Because and I know from experience, sometimes you bite off more than you can chew, and I'm like, what am I going to do now? And you kind of find yourself in a sticky situation.
Right. And the thing is, I know that during this last 2 years where it's been wild and crazy, I was very thankful that I had one restaurant to look after.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I know people in Memphis who have 4 and 5 or 3, however many restaurants they have to deal with every one of those. And in that situation, I was blessed to have this and was able to work my way through it and be better for it. So
that's outstanding, man.
Yeah.
And we all benefit from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about where people can not only find the place, which we already gave the address, which is, let me just repeat it, 2631 Mackinville Road, but social media, website, what do you have out there that people can go to?
Right now, all we have is our Facebook page and our Instagram.
Okay.
And we have...
And is it at Buon Cibo for both?
It's Buon Cibo Hernando, I think, is our Instagram, at Buon Cibo Hernando.
We'll have all the links here in the show notes for this episode too.
We do our specials on our Instagram page and our soups of the week, and we'll post things on Facebook and Instagram. I would like to get a website up and running here one of these days, but I look at Coleman's and I'm like, Coleman's didn't have any of that stuff. They didn't have a website. They just had a great following. They had great customers that came in and supported them, and we miss Coleman's. We miss Coleman's.
I never got a chance to experience Coleman's, and I've heard the breakfasts there were epic, and everyone would pour each other's coffee for everybody.
And then everybody had their order, their lunch order. You come in, you get a barbecue sandwich, baked beans, fries. Katie would get a fried chicken sandwich with slaw and fries, and it was a great spot, and they did a great job. And I'm super happy that they got out when they did, and they did really well. And but it's like Katie's always like, where do you want to go for lunch? She's like, Coleman's. I'm like,
oh man,
can't
do that. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Josh.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate your time here. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the audience?
I'm always super thankful of our customers. I remember early on, I think it was Robert Carter. You've already interviewed Robert Carter. I'm pretty sure it's Robert Carter.
Oh, we have a story. He's part of the reason why this podcast exists.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
He, I think he came in for lunch for a burger. This was early on when we started doing the burgers. And then I saw him again that night having another burger for dinner. And I was like, boom. I was like, that's awesome. That's amazing. And our customers have been there for us throughout for 11 years, eating here twice a week, 3 times a week. And they've just been amazing. So, and you can't have a restaurant without customers. And so thank y'all very much. And we appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. So as we wrap this up here, let me just say this. Please, to the listeners and viewers, share this episode. Help spread the word about Buon Cibo and Josh Belenchia here. Thank him for giving us his story. I love learning these stories and learning more about the people behind the business. And that's really what's important to me in this podcast is learning the people and personality behind these awesome local businesses. So please feel free to share this episode. Where can you find this episode? You can go to therealhernando.com. There you will be able to find links to our YouTube channel, all of our audio platforms. We're on Apple, Google Play, Stitcher, Audible. So please come to the website and find this episode and share it, plus all the other episodes we have in there that are all Hernando-based businesses. And Facebook and Instagram, you can find us in both places. Both are at The Real Hernando. So till next time, thanks everybody.
Thank y'all.